Hello everyone, we are on our last lesson of week 4. So this is lesson number 15, chemosynthesis. You've probably never even heard of that word before, but we know what synthesis means, a bit like photosynthesis. Synthesis means to make something, and chemo, well, you might even guess that that's for chemicals. So this is making things by chemicals. So without looking down, can you, or looking back in your books, can you write down the equation for photosynthesis? Can you remember what does a plant need to produce two things? So, question to you guys. Do you think that sunlight can reach the bottom of the sea? Bear in mind that some parts of our ocean, some of our ocean trenches can be up to 7 miles deep. Do you think sunlight can reach there? If not, what do you think might be going on there to create food for our food chains and our animals and our web of life? You've probably guessed that no light actually reaches the bottom of the sea. So, in these very deep areas, something else is going on. And scientists recently have made some new discoveries, new species, new animals, new food chains, and none of them are related to photosynthesis. Quite incredible that life has found a way of creating food down at the bottom of the sea without light. This is being done by chemical processes where they are making, synthesizing chemicals into food, and that is supporting a whole network of life at the bottom of the sea. So what you're going to do, you are going to watch some clips on chemosynthesis and hydrothermal vents, which is where this life form is taking place. These links are on this video. You can pause it and get them here, or probably easier for you to get them off of Show My Homework and watch them from there. So pause the video, watch the video, and we'll have a rethink and write some things down. So, chemosynthesis is carried out by bacteria living in very extreme conditions, and they make chemicals into food. So what I want you to do now, I want you, from what you've seen on that video and the information on this page, I want you to write a clear definition of what chemosynthesis is. You do not need to learn this equation, it's far too complicated, and the sulfide compounds will change, but you do need to know that it uses carbon dioxide and water and other chemicals to then process and make food. So you probably saw on the video these red tube-like worms living on hydrothermal vents. These are one of the most common animals associated with these kind of environments, and they have neither stomach or a mouth. But what they do have is these bacteria living inside them, and it's these bacteria that are converting the chemicals into food. The food they're making is obviously sugars, a bit like photosynthesis makes sugars, it makes glucose, and it is that that is sustaining the worms. The worms obviously then form the bottom of the food chain that allow other animals, crabs, fish, sharks, things like that, to obviously then feed on the other organisms that are living in and around the hydrothermal vents. So tube worms form the bottom of the food chain, and ultimately it's the bacteria here that are the producers. So they are the ones that produce the food and allow the tube worms to obviously live, and then other things to feed off the tube worms. So I would now like you to write something about tube worms, only in a couple of sentences. So what they are, where they're found, and how they make food. Okay, so now I want you to have a think about the differences between photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. So how they're making food, where are they getting their food from, where does this occur? I want you to make a list for both, or a table to show the difference between the two, and then I will give you the answers. So the differences are chemosynthesis uses chemicals, photosynthesis uses light, sunlight. Chemosynthesis occurs in hydrothermal vents around volcanoes and methane gaps in the sea, whereas photosynthesis occurs on land and in water. Chemosynthesis can occur anytime, and photosynthesis can only occur in daylight or man-made light. Chemosynthesis doesn't require any kind of light whatsoever. Photosynthesis requires light and chlorophyll to make that carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. Chemosynthesis relies on chemicals, and photosynthesis just needs carbon dioxide and water. And in chemosynthesis, it produces water and other chemical compounds, where in photosynthesis, it produces oxygen and glucose. So add some of these to your list just to beef it up. Here we have another example of chemosynthesis taking place. In this case, it takes place underground, so again, no sunlight involved here. And these are nitrogen-fixing bacteria. So they live in the soil and on the roots or nodules of plants, and they take nitrogen from the atmosphere and they convert that into food and obviously supply food and glucose to the plant. So this again is a symbiotic relationship between bacteria and, in this case, plants. Can you write one sentence or a bullet point on nitrogen fixing bacteria? So this page really is just a pause for thought of how science shapes our views, our opinions, the world around us. Obviously, science at the moment is playing a massive part in trying to really save our lifestyle as we know it today. We are seeing scientists from all over the world coming together to try and find a vaccination and beat this coronavirus. So here we are talking about chemosynthesis and how life started on Earth and how new discoveries change and shape the way we view our world today. So just read it, have a think. If you want to make some notes, you can. You don't have to. So, can you work out what the three missing words are? Write them down in your book and then go on to the next page to see if you were right. So what I've done here, so this is technically the end of the lesson. However, if this is your kind of thing, it really is my kind of thing. I love anything to do with the sea. I love anything to do with animals, as you guys know. So I have attached some videos here of some different sea creatures around hydrothermal vents, different discoveries. If you're interested, watch them. They are absolutely incredible what they've discovered.